Note: all licensed characters' names mentioned in this audio are created by a variety of other cartoonists. All of the licensed and featured characters mentioned do not belong to the creator of this episode, and its whole series. All rights go to the owners. Warren presents The Warren Show. Season 2, Episode 6. Warren was in his room one day, drawing his own characters on paper, because he has imagined his own TV show where he can create fantasy about his own made-up character coming to life. When Warren showed it to his mom said he could have a book published about it, and he might become known for his work in a snap. Warren even did this one day, where he placed his made-up book on a library shelf, and his book was made from paper. He went there the next day, and it was not there, which he thought somebody must have taken it and read it, and they thought it was good. This thought made him happy, thinking his own creative work does matter. One day, Warren's mom took Warren to a studio, where a production cast was waiting for him. Apparently, his mom took him for child acting and performance, because, from the looks of his exaggeration, he seemed born to become a creative kid. The production cast saw Warren as a children's TV show character, and they actually really wanted to use him as one. They saw Warren as a cute little boy with his colorful long-sleeve shirt with stripes, his yellow overalls, his red shoes, and his orange hair. The production was dying to have Warren as one of their kid show characters. Warren's guardians agreed to the offer. Two of them didn't really have a problem with Warren's face being shown in public and his identity on form. Darius was not happy about being used as a reference of Warren's acting interest, and did not want to be the father of a children's character. Since Warren was going to do some acting around this time, he will not be going back to his own home for a long while. And instead, he was going to spend the night in a children's department, which adults were not allowed in, and the building were secured and guarded by the mature owners of the property along with safety. The department was bought by the production crew, and it was colorful with all the sorts of fun stuff. It was later heard that the department was able to use it to shoot their episodes in, and had the rights to do it. They also had trailers in case there is not enough space in the department for all the children actors. The next day, Warren was brought to the production studio, where the production crew made Warren wear a black formal suit for the TV cast shooting. The TV show that Warren was going to act for was called The Spring-Fall Show, and it was a comedy sitcom. Other children characters such as Caillou, Dora, Little Bill, Arthur, Gumby, Mickey Mouse, Super Y, Ni Hao Kai Lan, Theodore Cleaver aka The Beaver, Xavier, Peg plus Cat, Naughty, Dennis Menace, Nick and Sally, Pocoyo, Jimmy Two Shoes, Rudy Tabuti, Todd, Zoe Starbeam, Lucy, Mila, and her pet Morphle. Despite Warren's brutal behavior, his appearance was connected to all those TV show kid characters, and was sucked in the children character category. Warren had no clue what to expect, but he did not feel comfortable with all those other children. In other casting developments, they were only including humans, not animals. Warren joked about how the production crew are going to hell for not including animals, because they're nice. Anyways, Half of the setting for the show was going to be shooted in a children's colorful house. In addition, they also added a big performance art stage auditorium center. It was now time for the show to start, and the production crew set up their cameras and started recording. The big heavy red curtain slowly opened, and then the title card in a calm font appeared from all the camera's point of view. Shapes. When the curtains were now out of the way, it was still dark, but that is until a spotlight suddenly turned on, shining above Warren. The narrator tells the audience that the first shape to present is a triangle. Then, Warren turns around and shows himself, only turning his head towards the audience. Warren seemed nervous at that point. The next shape was then a square, and this time, it was presented by Caillou. Caillou had a colorful frame around his head, and smiled at the cameras. The narrator said that not all cartoon characters represents a particular shape. Then whenever there is a different shape, there will be a different person. As all of this was going on, Warren stayed behind the curtains backstage. He heard the hallowing voice of the narrator describing what was going on. After the shape episode was finished, they all went to the next part. Colors. Warren presented all the colors, because he was the only one whose clothes presented every color. After a few more clips, they got 3 episodes so far, and after practice, they went to go to a children's department for official child actors. When the crew got on the tour bus to go there, Warren did not want to go, and was afraid of seeing what the children's department looked like. He finally got inside, and he sat on his seat. The tour bus was really long because of how much child actors were there. When they finally arrived, they followed the guards to their bedrooms. All the cartoon characters including Warren were given a tour of the colorful department. Warren checked out some of the rooms that they will be staying in, and some of them had clown posters around its walls, which creeped out Warren, and he was glad his room did not have any of those. Warren was given his own private room in the department, which was mostly yellow. The next morning, the children cartoon characters were in the playroom playing with each other, waiting to go drive back to the Performance Arts Center, where they were supposed to play their roles. While they were playing, one of the production people complained about an adult being in a children's show, explaining that no matter how friendly they dress up like, the general audience would feel uncomfortable. Making an animated series wouldn't work out as well, because of how ridiculous it would obviously look. Anyways, as all the kids finally get in the tour bus for production time, one of the people from the production crew told Warren that he will be getting his own tape play if he keeps up his good work, and sent him on his way. When they arrived to the performance center, Warren was brought backstage and was told he is going to make a show all about him, with only 7 videos about it. While the other crew went to do whatever, Warren was in a funhouse where he was dressed like a clown and trying to make the audience laugh. Warren was trained how to juggle balls, but Warren only learned how to juggle 2 balls instead of 3. After that, he then made fun of himself by, accidentally, slipping on a banana peel and falling on his head. This however causes him to hit the ground hard, so much that he wakes up a few minutes later to find himself in an empty yellow hallway where there are 4 rooms. Warren was still in his clown costume at this point, and he goes into the first room where it shows a flower field. Warren walks in and wanders around when he finds a yellow, creepy-looking teddy bear. Then a projector text appears saying, "Today is going to be a fun day." Right then, old children's music start playing in the background, and animals starts coming out from nowhere and rubbing their snouts on Warren. Warren is freaked out and walks out from the flower-filled room. Warren enters the second room where he finds his own made-up characters from his imagination. Warren starts having fun with them until he rides a train cart, and he is brought back to the hallway. That was basically the entire episode. That day, Warren was creating many episodes of himself doing fun and stupid things, like drawing, making a fool of himself, and eating pizza, which was so random. And it was all recorded on tape and put in a VHS tape. The next day, Warren and his crew were doing an episode and a practice for their big performance show at the Children's Arts Center Auditorium Theater, which is planned to happen soon. Most of the practice was done there on stage, and Warren was not on board with the idea of being on stage. In fact, he tried to do many things to get himself out of it. For example, while he was doing an act with Caillou in a flower field setting, he picked a flower, asking Caillou to smell it to see how good it is, but Warren whispered to his ear to sniff it hard, trying to get him high. When the action segment was finished, Warren asked if he could perform videos of himself shooting someone or something. However, to his dismay, the production crew misunderstands this as him wanting to shoot a video of himself, hence, an episode. The crew told him he would need a script, which Warren guessed is required, and he got to work. He was brought into a storage room, and got a paper script template where he can start writing. As Warren was doing his thing, he noticed that there was a curtain behind him, and every 2 minutes, it would loosely begin to open, as if it had a mind of its own. The problem Warren had was that whatever room that curtain was holding, it was dark, and he had a feeling that there was something creepy behind it, so he closed the curtains shut. The same thing happens for a while. Every 2 or 3 minutes, the curtains would start to loosely open as if it had a mind of its own, and Warren had to get up and close it because of his suspense. Finally, decides to go inside and look what was behind the curtains. However, he started to feel uneasy. He finally turned the switch on. But before he could see what was really inside, he suddenly had a vision of himself walking into a big cheering crowd in front of him, and they were pink figures cheering at the top of their lungs. He then saw fireworks going up in the sky, spelling out, "The Warren Show." Right then, Warren had a feeling that tomorrow is going to be a good day. The next morning, Warren was in his department room, watching clips of himself on the TV. He later eats breakfast with the other acting crew before going to the Children's Performance Center. At that time, Warren finds out that he got his own show recordings that are full of videos of him in his entertaining and funny performance plays. It is all set on a VHS tape, and he has given his very own first cassette tape. When Warren was driven back to his hometown home, he went to tell his mommy and daddy about his experiences with being an actor and a performer. He even showed a VHS tape of him entertaining the audience, and doing many tricks. Darius thinks he looks ridiculous as hell, but his mom found it cute and amazingly creative. However, Warren saw how corny it looked, and wished he had done a bit of dramatic action into his episodes. The next day, Warren got a ride to go back to the performance center. During the ride, he started having ambivalent thoughts about his predominant career as an actor. He isn't an actor as if he's playing a role of some made-up character. But he is an actor who acts like himself, but in a more humorous and funny way, and the same thing goes with all the other children cartoon characters that he performs with. That is what he has been doing today when he got to the studio. And he even saw himself premiered on television. With the title of his show called The Warren Show, and his first episode titled Today is Going to Be a Good Day, which showed him doing dexterous childlike things. Anyways, during a rehearsal, Warren was in the studio, and he was to sing a song written by the production crew, and its instrumental was already finished. Warren said that cannot sing, but he was told to try. Warren ended up singing the lyric very neat, so neat that it was enough to get it on record, and had a video of himself singing it, and was later produced on VHS to his very own TV show. Later that day, Warren was learning Japanese with Kai Lan. The prior reason for this was that Warren's TV show DVD tape was going to be released in Japan in all sales and its edition, and needed the Japanese language transitioning. Although the Warren show can use translation, the production crew wanted him to learn how to speak a different language, so that the translation won't be too hard to do. One producer asked if they should do manga, but that was turned down, since it would be ridiculous for a commercial show hosted by a normal boy, and that's none other than Warren. The next day, Warren asked if he can record himself doing drama and action stuff. The production crew thought all of that fighting and conflict genre stuff was too explicit for children to watch, and they dismissed it. Warren was not happy that he could not perform stunts and action sequences in his episodes, and he said that it was his show, but his ideas were still turned down by the producers and directors. That night, there were many people, including children, coming to see the performance show, and had their ticket to watch the play. Most of the audience were already sitting on their respective seats. And Warren was horrified, thinking he might screw up in front of 300 people, and he knows that he has a major increasing exposure of stage fright. As the cartoon characters were about to go perform on stage, Warren was waiting backstage, and he wanted to hide, so he sneaked out from view, and he eventually found himself in the entrance of the Arts Center, where people hand out their tickets. Warren went to the restroom and sat on the toilet, but then, an agent security guard went inside to use the restroom, and he snuck out, hoping he would not get caught. Warren found out he was in the men's restroom, and upon that, he noticed an AK-47 firearm laying on a container, and it was for protective use. Once again, Warren's usual instincts kicked in, and thought he could shoot the cartoon characters with the firearm, and thought it would be funny and fun. After stealing the AK-47, he sneaked into an unlocked theater class, and went inside it in which the coast was clear. He then hides behind the curtains in that room, and waits until it is his turn to shine on stage. After minutes, it was finally his time to rise up. When Warren went on stage, everybody was there, watching him. Warren carefully got out the AK-47, and then, he started shooting at everybody. The cartoon characters ran for their lives, and some of them even got shot to death. As Warren was shooting everywhere non-stop, he unknowingly shot a fire pipe, causing the entire auditorium to set on fire. Warren then shot the upper ceiling, causing one of the electrical wires to explode and the wires swinging and slicing off Caillou's body in half. Caillou struggled to get himself together because of the amount of children characters stomping on his guts, causing him to die in pain. Many people, including families and children, did not get shot during the crossfire, and they ran for their lives. As the violent chaos continued to go on, Warren's AK-47 ran out of bullets. Warren then smashes the unloaded weapon at Super Y's face, then plunges it right deeply into his eye socket. Warren throws it away and runs, and he manages to avoid the dangerous incidents going on around him, and he reaches an exit. Warren goes from room to room, trying to find a way out of the trouble he has caused, but he realized was trapped. At this point, Warren couldn't be identified, and he had those white toon gloves on, anyways. When he finally got out of the auditorium, he ran into a security guard, who was supposed to guard the place and already had a firearm out. The guard takes him to a bus where he gets a ride back home. At that moment, Warren was happy to commit such a violent and bad incident. The next morning, Warren was in the living room, and he saw news about the shooting that he caused yesterday. While he wasn't in trouble for shooting the place, one of the agent security guards was arrested for not supervising a weapon, and Warren was declared innocent since he was too young to know what he was actually doing. At the end of the day, he had a core of innocence. During the day, he and his mom watched episodes from The Warren Show, and sat by each other in peace. Warren suddenly felt scared, and told his mommy that he did something wrong. When his mom asks him what he did wrong, he says nothing, and signals to her to forget about it. In the end, everything turns black and white except Warren, who is selective colored, and is being covered in black literature for the bad thing he committed. The end.